Okay, let's get started. Let's discuss today. You know, we can discuss spring today. So, what do you mean spring? And what is meant by spring boot? So, spring we can say like, why can't we can develop spring web application by using Java? Why can't? Why we have to use spring? So basically, either we can create by using Java or Spring Boot. But but nowadays, in company standards, most of the companies are using Spring and Spring Boot. Okay, so why? Because these provide loosely coupled application, so it's not depend on one application will not be dependent on another application, and this is widely used actually. Okay, see, so we have like what is Spring Framework and its core features. So if you see Spring framework and its core feature, so Spring is a lightweight and open source. That means um, it is open source means we don't want to pay any amount to the Spring. It is openly available for everyone. You know. So there is a website. We have Maven repository. Maven repository. So here, if you check for the Spring content, you'll be getting the Spring content. So these dependency you can add in the pom.xml file in Eclipse or IntelliJ. Okay, this is for Spring framework. Okay, Spring core. So we just want to add this dependency for Spring core, but for the Spring Boot, it is already explicitly available. Sorry, implicitly available by its auto enable configuration. Okay, so let's see. And it provides comprehensive infrastructure support for developing Java application. That means it supports some infrastructure support, and it is widely used by multiple companies. And then you can see it helps to building enterprise level application and easy and efficiently. So by using Spring framework, we can able to develop enterprise level application like web applications basically, and it is very easy to build. And this is totally depends based upon focusing on Pojo based development. This development, and we have some few functionalities, core components of Spring framework. One is IOC, inversion of control, aspect oriented programming, data access, Spring MVC, then lightweight container, and you can say transaction management support, modular architecture, testing support. So let's see one by one. Okay, let's see one by one. Okay, so here we are going today. I'm going to cover few annotations as per here. So in this tutorial, I'm going to cover few annotations as well. So I'm going to cover configuration annotation. Then what is component annotation? Component annotation. What is other bean annotation? And what is property source annotation? Then, you know, so property annotation we can go with component scan as well. So here only I'm going to add. One second. I'm going to call component scan annotation. Then I'm going to call few this one stereo annotations, stereotype annotations, stereotype annotations. Here we have okay. We have few stereotype annotations. Those are you know at the date service, at the date. One sec. Okay. So at the date bean service and the date no okay at the date service at the date repository at the date controller, or you can go with at the date rest controller. No, at the date rest controller. We are going to cover these annotations. And apart from this, we will be covering auto void annotation and primary annotation, qualifier annotation, then some value annotation. Then we are going to see what is Spring Boot application annotation and enable auto configuration annotation. We are going to see. Then we are going to see scope annotation. You can see profiles, profiles and profiles. We can see. Then you can see um, you can see conditional on property annotation, conditional on property annotation. Then we will see how to write a YAML files. Then we will be seeing AOP. These are few additional things. Then okay, these many. So this we are going to see for today. Along with this, we can add few need. So we can see transactional annotation, modifying annotation, or yeah. Then we can see REST controller advice for global exception and exception handle exception handler exception handler annotation. Okay. Then we can see how to write Swagger. Swagger. That's one. What to do? Performance swagger. Okay. So these many we are going to discuss today. So first we go with what is first one we go with what is IOC. So why we have to go with Spring framework? So Spring framework basically, as I said, it is lightweight open source Java framework, and Spring Core is the so here in Spring Core, IOC is the core component of the of the Spring application. So if you talk about what is IOC, if you talk about what is IOC, IOC is nothing but in version of control, version of control. Okay, so you can see, so it is a design pattern. So it is a design principle. So IOC nothing but it is design principle. So suppose um, and it is nothing but it is a design principle. Okay, it is a design principle, and it is the core component we can say, but nothing but it is the core component of Spring Boot Spring application. Okay. So what is IOC is nothing but instead of you creating and managing the object, here Spring container will be managing the object for us. Is nothing but so suppose you think IOC is an container, okay, like this. IOC is a container like this, okay. So here this is one class, okay. Here I'm going to create an object, student object. Student is equal to new of student. Okay. So here I'm creating teacher object. Teacher T equal to new teacher. Okay. So so if we are uh, using is a has a relationship, that means let's do this one. That might be good. Okay. So this is teacher object here. This is student class. Okay. So inside student, I'm writing teacher instance. Okay. Teacher T. Okay. So now this contains one argument, right? Teacher argument. T. This dot T equal to T, right? So suppose take one main method. Okay. On top of this, suppose take one main method, main main class. Okay. This is a main class. In this class, I'm writing student. I'm writing one method. Okay, return type is student. Student add. Okay, I have to return the student type. So we have only argument constructor. We don't have no argument constructor. So we have to pass this student object as a return type right here. So inside the student object we have one argument. So that should be passing here. So that means this is tightly coupled. So here if you see now how we can write, we have to write like this: new return new student. Okay, so inside this teacher is there. Either you can create a new teacher object like this, or so you can create a teacher object like this, or you can create one teacher object and you can return that one new teacher. So then you can use this method here. Okay, so basically what it is happening here. So this so first main method is invoked, right, and it will call the student. So student is returning return type and it has some arguments. So that method is invoked now, and this will give the return, and again this return type will be given back to this method again, right? So to add method is depend upon add one method, right? So this is tightly coupled. Suppose here if we are having some exception occurred in this statement. Suppose think here we are getting some exception in between. uh, new new throw and runtime exceptions, some exception. Okay, suppose think you are getting some exception. This statement can't be reached here, right? If some exception happen, the statement can't be reached right here. So then this will be waiting until this returning value should until this value will be returning. So this is tightly coupled here, right? Instead of making these much things, so what Spring will do? Spring contains one core component called as IOC container, that is inversion of control. So where instead of you creating and managing the b objects, or we can say as beans in Spring actually. So IOC will be managing the objects. IOC will be creating the objects for you, and it will do the management. Internally it will work. It will take care of everything. You don't want to do anything. So that is the advantage of IOC. So yes, my system is better. Okay. So instead of we creating the object, here IOC will be creating the object for us. Okay. So it is a core component. Okay, right. It is a design principle where control of object creation and dependency management will be uh, transferred from our application code to the framework, IOC framework. Okay. So if you take the roles of the IOC container, as I said, the Spring IOC container is the core component of the Spring framework that creates and manages the bean. The container also handle the life cycle. Okay, it will handles all the life cycle, bean life cycle. There is a concept called bean life cycle. It will uh, handles all the bean life cycle and scopes and configuration of the beans. Okay, we can discuss this one in and it injects a dependency into the objects instead of them creating on our own dependencies. Okay, develop loosely coupled maintain scalable applications. Okay, basically develop loose coupled applications. So here if you see, eh, our code is tightly coupled, right, one with another. Yeah. So if you see here, uh, here it is loosely coupled. Okay, this loosely coupled. Okay. I was okay. So definition, what you can say, inversion of control means, what you can say, inversion of control means we don't have to control create the dependencies, rather the framework does for us. Okay, these dependencies are known also known as beans actually. So totally there are two types of bean creation which we can do. First one is bean factory application context. Okay. Okay, let's go to next one. Okay. Next is uh, okay. So let's create Maven project. Okay. So let's create a Maven project. You can skip it as per your need. I'm giving com dot test. Okay, so test only. Project is building. Okay, here it is. Okay. So I'm adding the dependency. Okay, I'm adding the dependency. There is a tag called as dependencies. Okay, you can write it. Inside the just paste the dependency, and I want to handle this via dynamically. So I'm creating one properties. You can create either properties. Okay. So this one I'm mentioning Spring dot version is in key value pair. Okay, the same name I can give here as well. Okay, then just load the project. So it is loading. Okay, now you see inside Maven we got micrometer, J specify, Spring AOP, Spring Beans, Spring Context, Spring Core. Spring Core is the IOC container. So it has all the dependencies. It will generate Spring Core. Okay. Okay. Spring Expression, Spring Beans. So we have all the dependencies, jar files added here. Okay, right. Let's create a project package. New package has animal. Okay. You can create a class. But we can use animal laundry and animal. Okay. Okay, see. So initially we have to create a, so suppose I think here we are having some fields. Okay. I'm taking ID, provide string name. Okay. Refactor or can just check here. Generating getters and setters. Generate constructor with fields. Okay. I'm writing one method. Test um, animal class. Okay. So we have one annotation called as other date component. I have to specify this one. Why? Because like the component, how Spring will be knowing like which class should be running. So based upon this annotation. So if you specify this is annual stereotype annotations, If you write this component annotation, this will be indicating to the Spring container like this class should be loaded inside the IOC container. Okay, so you can see here, uh, so you can see here the implementation component. Okay, or we can ask ChatGPT for the definition. Right? Definition. So you can see definition if you're asking, sorry, component definition. So you can see component is a Spring annotation used to make a class as Spring managed bean, meaning Spring will be automatically detect and create the object for the during component scan. Okay. So we are telling the Spring you have to create an object for this class and you have to manage that this class. Okay. For this class you have to create a bean. Okay. This is from the stereotype. If you see stereotype, inside the stereotype we have so many. We can discuss one by one later on. I'm creating one more new class. Test main class. Okay. I'm creating main method. That is annotation, configuration, application, context. Okay. If you write this one, this is the Spring IOC container. Okay. Spring container. New. Alright. ACAC connect. So here you have to write the configuration file. That means we have to say like for this file, for this Spring, this is Spring IOC, right? For the Spring IOC we have to do some specify some configuration, no, which class should be injected in that Spring IOC container. So for that we have to create one configuration file. You can give any name to you, that doesn't matter. So we have an annotation called as component scan. Component scan. So what it does, component scan will scan all the packages and its sub packages. That means this package is from animal package, right? All the animal package will be defaultly scanned. If you want to specify explicitly, then we can write class path. Then you can write the package name that can be doable. You can see this is from component scan package. Okay, so you see base packages we can write. Okay, like this. Okay, then we have to make this one as a configuration file, right? We have to say like Springboard, this file contains some configuration. So we have an annotation called as configuration to make the class as a configuration. Okay, then we can take this one, copy that one, and we just paste here inside the double quotes. Okay, then AC dot. There is a method called as get bean method. That method will take the bean, okay, from the container, IOC container. So which bean we need? We need the bean from the animal, right? We can take that, not a class, okay, okay. The storage type is animal, yeah, okay. So Sonali listen, okay. To write a dot, what method we have, which method you want to call from this. As want to call test method, suppose test. See, that's it. So now try to run the program and see what will be getting the output. Or you can run from here as well. There is no problem. Okay, there is some exception. Okay, this is different. Okay, it is running the old file. We don't need a old file. Okay, run as Java application. So there is some error. Animal. There is no class form. Okay, this statement is problem. It is a problem here. No such no qualifying bean available. But bean is there. So we return component, right? We write component itself. Some Thank you guys.